Hello everyone, in this video I want to give you a candid review of my efforts to control sound transfer into and out of my home theater. One of my main goals when planning my home theater build was to be soundproof, but in my research I realized pretty quickly that being truly soundproof in the sense that there is zero sound transfer wasn't going to be realistic for the type of experience I wanted in the room. Listening at the levels that I do and considering the subs that I plan to incorporate into the room, there was no way to be completely soundproof. Even if I went with a detached room, staggered studs, resilient channels, green glue, rock wool, double 5/8 inch drywall, incorporating some or all of those properly would reduce the transfer of some sound, but it wouldn't be truly soundproof unless I took some really extraordinary and expensive steps. But it came down to a cost to benefit ratio, and where I am now works just fine in my case. I opted to use rock wool between the studs and 5/8 inch drywall. I'm very fortunate that the front and left wall in my home theater are concrete and underground, so there is no transfer out or in through those walls. The right wall is an interior wall with the family room on the other side. The family room also has rock wool insulation and 5/8 inch drywall throughout. That room and another room on the other side act as an additional buffer between the outside. I have a pretty large backyard that butts up against my neighbors who has a large backyard as well. So most of any sound waves will dissipate between us. The rear wall does have a window, but I stuffed what is essentially a thick, heavy, massive acoustic panel into the window frame. It sits in there nice and snug. I hear nothing from the outside transfer into this room. I imagine if someone were in the backyard and pointing a loudspeaker directly at the wall at full volume, I would probably hear that, but that's not a realistic scenario. All those natural sounds that you might expect from a typical neighborhood, I can't hear any of those in my room. Overhead between the joists, I have rock wool and 5/8 inch drywall for the ceiling. If I maxed out the volume on my TV upstairs and it's completely quiet in here, I can hear it, not to the extent that I can understand what's being said or what's going on. It's very muffled. So to hear any airborne sounds from above, there would really have to be a proactive effort. Impact sounds are pretty audible. We have hardwood floors above, and this room is connected structurally to the floor above. So the vibrations from footsteps, for example, travel through the hardwood, along the joists, through the studs. The only way to completely eliminate those structure-borne sounds would have been to create a room within a room. The walls and ceiling in this room would be disconnected from the house entirely. I could have also used some medium to disconnect the physical connections between the floor above and this room, like green glue or sound clips. That would help dissipate the transfer and dampen the sound. In my case, impact sounds aren't really a problem. When I'm in here, no one really walks around directly above. The rock wool does a good job in dampening because even cranked, the sound is pretty muffled. The high frequencies are largely stopped. The low frequencies and some of the mids are getting through. The low frequencies in particular, regardless of the room design and treatment, are going to be tough, if not impossible to stop, because the long wavelength of lower frequencies pass through walls and really most mediums fairly easily. To stop or effectively dampen those low frequencies, I would have needed to install some material that's both heavy and really dense. Fortunately, the two concrete walls and being partially underground helped. That's the kind of mass and density that will eliminate the escape of the low frequency waves. As for the other walls and ceiling, the drywall and rock wool alone aren't as effective. Actually, as those bass waves pass through the walls, they're giving up some energy to the drywall and studs, which is creating some structural noise in addition to airborne noise. So it's just difficult to reduce, much less eliminate those low frequencies. But fortunately, late at night, whoever isn't in the theater is usually 2 floors up. So that being on a slab down here and having 2 concrete walls actually does eliminate nearly all those frequencies, including those low frequencies. It's just too far, too much material, too much added structural rigidity for those sound waves to get to the second floor. But if it's a bass heavy movie that dips into those really low frequencies and I really push my PB-4000, it will extend 2 floors up and there will be some rumble. So that is a look into my efforts to control sound transfer into and out of my home theater, and some insight into my experience with these materials and realistically how effective they are in my case. I did a video where I go through my room build, so check that out if you will. I'll leave a link in the description section below. What have you done or what do you plan to do to control sound in your room? Leave those in the comment section below.